I heard something crazy that night. My best friend's husband revealed a secret he never should have said. Before we begin, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss these emotionally powerful real-life stories. And if this grips you, give it a thumbs up and share it. Your support means everything. Now, let's get into what he told me that evening at the beach. My name is Claire. I'm 34 years old. And 2 months ago, I learned a secret that has made me question everything I thought I understood about loyalty, truth, and what we owe to the people we love. This story takes place on a beach at sunset, in those strange moments between day and night when everything feels suspended and unreal. It's the story of a confession I never asked for and didn't want to hear, a secret that once spoken out loud couldn't be taken back or forgotten. A truth that changed not just how I see one person, but how I see all the relationships in my life. My best friend Emma and I have been inseparable since high school, the kind of friendship that survives time and distance and all the changes that come with growing up. We've been there for each other through everything. First loves and heartbreaks, college stress and career uncertainty, family drama and personal crises. Emma is the sister I chose, the person who knows all my histories and secrets and loves me anyway. Our friendship is the most stable, most valuable relationship in my life, which makes what happened 2 months ago even more complicated and impossible to process. Emma married Nathan 5 years ago after dating him for 3 years before that. Nathan was everything Emma had been looking for after a series of relationships with men who weren't ready for commitment. He was stable, successful, emotionally available in ways her previous boyfriends had never been. Nathan owned a small but thriving architecture firm, had built a good life for himself, seemed genuinely devoted to making Emma happy. I'd been at their wedding as maid of honor, had watched them exchange vows and genuinely believed they were building something lasting and real. In the 8 years I'd known Nathan, he'd been exactly what he appeared to be: a good husband to Emma, a reliable friend to the people in her life, someone you could count on to show up when he said he would, and to follow through on his commitments. Nathan was steady in a way that felt rare, the kind of person who thought before speaking, who considered consequences before acting, who seemed to have his life figured out in ways most people our age were still struggling with. I'd never had any reason to distrust Nathan or question his character, or wonder if there was more to him than what he showed the world, until 2 months ago. Until that evening at the beach when Emma was late and Nathan and I were alone, and something about the setting and the moment made him decide to tell me something he'd been carrying for years, something that would have been better left unsaid, but that he apparently couldn't hold inside anymore. It was a Friday evening in early October, one of those perfect autumn days where the weather is still warm enough to be comfortable, but cool enough to remind you winter is coming. Emma had suggested we all meet at the pier for dinner at a seafood restaurant she'd been wanting to try. The plan was to meet at 6:30, watch the sunset from the pier, then have dinner. Simple. The kind of casual evening we'd done 100 times before. I arrived first, around 6:20, and found Nathan already there standing near the railing looking out at the ocean. Emma had texted saying she was running late. Her meeting at work had gone longer than expected, and she'd be there by 7 at the latest. Nathan showed me the text and suggested we walk along the beach while we waited for her rather than just standing at the pier. I agreed. It was a beautiful evening, the kind where being outside felt better than being anywhere else. We walked down to the beach, our shoes in our hands, the sand still warm from the day's sun. The ocean was calm, waves rolling in gently, the sound rhythmic and soothing. Other people were scattered along the beach, couples walking hand in hand, families with small children, joggers getting in their evening exercise. Normal. Nothing about the scene suggested what was about to happen. Nathan was quiet as we walked. Not unusually quiet. Nathan had never been particularly chatty, was comfortable with silence in ways some people aren't, but there was something different about his silence that evening, a tension I couldn't quite identify, a restlessness in the way he kept looking at the ocean and then away, like he was working up to saying something but couldn't quite figure out how to start. We walked for maybe 10 minutes before Nathan stopped. We were far enough from the pier now that the crowd had thinned out, just a few other people visible in the distance. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that looked almost unreal in their intensity. The kind of sunset that makes you stop and pay attention because nature is putting on a show. Claire, Nathan said, and something in his voice made me turn to look at him fully, instead of just glancing over while we walked. His expression was strange, a mixture of fear and something else I couldn't identify. I need to tell you something. Something I've never told anyone except one other person. Something Emma doesn't know and can never know. My stomach tightened. Those words, something Emma can never know, immediately set off alarm bells. Because nothing good ever follows that kind of statement. Nothing you want to hear comes after someone says they need to tell you a secret your best friend can't know about. Nathan, I don't think... I started, already trying to stop whatever confession was coming. Already knowing that once certain things are said out loud, they can't be unsaid. Already wanting to protect myself and Emma from whatever truth Nathan was about to share. But Nathan interrupted me. Please, I need to say this to someone before it destroys me. And you're the only person I trust who might understand, who might be able to help me figure out what to do. The desperation in his voice was something I'd never heard from Nathan before. Nathan was always composed, always in control. This version of him, vulnerable and scared and barely holding himself together, was completely foreign. I don't know if Emma ever told you, Nathan began, his eyes fixed on the ocean rather than on me. But before I met her, I was engaged to someone else, a woman named Jennifer. We'd been together for 4 years, were planning a wedding, had bought a house together. I thought she was the love of my life, thought we'd grow old together. I nodded. Emma had mentioned this once, briefly, years ago. Had said Nathan had been engaged before, but it hadn't worked out and he didn't like to talk about it. I'd never pushed for details because it seemed like something painful from his past that wasn't my business. What Emma doesn't know, Nathan continued, his voice dropping lower, is why that engagement ended. I told her Jennifer and I grew apart, that we wanted different things, that it was a mutual decision, but that's not what happened. The truth is, he paused, taking a breath like he was steeling himself for what came next. The truth is that Jennifer died. She didn't leave me. She didn't decide she wanted a different life. She died in a car accident 3 weeks before our wedding, and I never told Emma because I was afraid she'd think I was using her as a replacement, that she'd never believe I genuinely loved her if she knew I'd lost someone I was about to marry. The wind had picked up, colder now as the sun dropped lower. I wrapped my arms around myself, processing what Nathan had just said. He'd lied to Emma about his past? About something this significant? Nathan, I didn't know how to finish that sentence. That's something Emma should know. You should have told her from the beginning. I know, Nathan said, and there were tears in his eyes now. I know I should have been honest, but when Emma and I first started dating, I was still devastated about Jennifer, was barely functioning. Emma was so full of life, so optimistic and bright, and being with her made the grief bearable, made me feel like I could survive. And when she asked about my past, I couldn't bear to tell her I was still mourning someone else. So I lied, said the engagement had ended mutually, and then the lie became part of our foundation. And the longer I waited to correct it, the harder it became to tell the truth. He finally looked at me, his expression desperate. But that's not the worst part, Claire. That's not the secret that's been destroying me for the past year. My heart was pounding now, because if lying about a dead fiancé wasn't the worst part, what could possibly be worse? Emma looks like Jennifer, Nathan said quietly. Not identical, but similar enough that the first time I saw Emma at that coffee shop where we met, I thought for a second she was Jennifer. Same height, same build, same way of moving through space, same smile, same laugh. And I know it's crazy, I know it's wrong, but part of me wonders if I was drawn to Emma because she reminded me of what I'd lost. The confession hung in the air between us. Nathan had essentially admitted that his attraction to Emma might have been based on her resemblance to his dead fiancé, that the woman he'd married might have been, consciously or unconsciously, a replacement for someone else. Are you saying you don't actually love Emma? I asked, my voice harder than I'd intended. Are you saying your entire marriage is based on grief and resemblance rather than genuine feeling? No, Nathan said quickly. That's the thing, Claire. I do love Emma. Genuinely, completely love her. Whatever brought us together initially, the feelings I have now are real. Emma is her own person. I see her for who she is, not as a replacement for Jennifer. But I'm haunted by the question of whether I would have fallen for Emma if she didn't look like Jennifer. Whether our entire relationship is built on something unhealthy that I've never acknowledged. He ran his hands through his hair, clearly agitated. And last year, on what would have been Jennifer's 40th birthday, I found myself looking at old photos of her, comparing them to photos of Emma, seeing all the similarities I'd told myself didn't matter. And I started spiraling, started questioning everything, started wondering if I'd built my entire life on a foundation of unprocessed grief rather than genuine love. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Why not tell Emma? Why not tell a therapist? Why unburden yourself to me when I'm Emma's best friend and this puts me in an impossible position? Because I need someone to tell me I'm not crazy, Nathan said desperately. I need someone to help me figure out if I'm betraying Emma by staying with her while carrying these doubts, or if telling her the truth would just destroy her for no good reason when what I feel for her is real, even if how we started might have been complicated. The sky was darker now, the sunset fading into twilight. The temperature had dropped enough that I was genuinely cold, though I didn't know if it was the weather or the conversation making me shiver. You're asking me to keep a secret from my best friend, I said slowly. A secret about the foundation of her marriage, about whether her husband married her for herself, or because she looks like someone else. And you expect me to just carry that knowledge and say nothing? I'm asking you to help me decide what to do, Nathan clarified. I'm asking you to tell me if honesty in this situation serves anyone, or just makes me feel better at Emma's expense. Because I genuinely don't know the right answer. I looked at Nathan, this man I'd known for 8 years, who'd always seemed so solid and reliable, who I'd trusted completely, and I realized I'd never really known him at all. Never understood the grief he'd been carrying. Never suspected that his relationship with Emma might be more complicated than it appeared. When did Jennifer die? I asked. How long before you met Emma? 2 years, Nathan said. Jennifer died in March. I met Emma the following May. 26 months of barely functioning. 26 months of grief counseling and antidepressants and trying to figure out how to keep living when the person you'd planned your life with was gone. And then I saw Emma in that coffee shop, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt something other than pain. Felt hope. Felt like maybe I could have a future after all. He paused. And yes, part of what drew me to Emma initially was probably the resemblance. But Claire, I've spent 5 years with her. 5 years of building a life together. 5 years of falling in love with who she actually is. Her kindness, her humor, her way of seeing the world. Whatever confusion or grief was involved in the beginning, what I feel now is real. I love Emma. I'm not confused about that. But you're questioning whether you should be with her, I said. You're wondering if the resemblance to Jennifer means your feelings aren't genuine. If you're somehow using Emma as a replacement even though you say you love her. Yes, Nathan admitted. And I don't know how to resolve that. Don't know if telling Emma helps or just destroys our marriage because I need to confess. Don't know if these doubts mean I'm betraying her by staying, or if leaving based on them would be the real betrayal. We stood in silence for a moment. The beach was emptying out now, most people having headed home as the light faded. Soon, it would just be us, and whoever else was crazy enough to stand on a cold beach after sunset. Have you considered, I said carefully, that maybe the resemblance was what initially attracted you, but that doesn't invalidate everything that's happened since? That you're allowed to have been drawn to Emma for complicated reasons and still have developed genuine feelings over time. I've considered that, Nathan said. My therapist says the same thing, that origins don't determine validity, that questioning how something started doesn't mean the end result isn't real. But I can't shake the feeling that I'm lying to Emma by omission, that she deserves to know about Jennifer, about the resemblance, about all of it. And then she can decide if she still wants to be married to me knowing the full truth. And what if telling her destroys her confidence? I asked. What if she spends the rest of your marriage wondering if you really see her, or if you're seeing someone else? What if the truth you're so determined to tell does more harm than good? Nathan looked at me with an expression of profound uncertainty. That's what I need help figuring out. Is honesty always the right choice? Or are there situations where protecting someone from painful truth is actually the more loving thing to do? The question hung between us. A question I didn't have a good answer to. a question that philosophers and therapists and moral authorities have been debating forever without reaching consensus. I think, I said slowly, that you need to talk to your therapist about this. Not to me. Not to Emma's best friend who you've just put in an impossible position. You need professional guidance on how to handle these feelings, and whether disclosure serves your marriage or just makes you feel better. Nathan nodded. You're right. I shouldn't have told you. Shouldn't have unloaded this on you. I needed to say it out loud to someone. Needed to hear myself admit what I've been thinking and get some external perspective on whether I'm being crazy or reasonable. Why not tell the therapist you've apparently been seeing? I asked. If you're already in therapy, why not discuss this there? I have, Nathan admitted. But my therapist doesn't know Emma, doesn't understand our relationship. Can't tell me what the right thing to do is in this specific situation with this specific person. You know Emma. You know me. You know us together. I thought you might be able to help me figure out what honoring our marriage looks like in this situation. I shook my head. I can't do that, Nathan. I can't be the person who helps you decide whether to tell Emma a truth that will devastate her. That's not a burden I want, or a decision I should be making. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. So sorry. Meeting went even later than expected. Running another 20 minutes late. Order appetizers without me. I looked at Nathan, then at my phone, then back at Nathan. Emma's going to be here soon. We need to figure out what we're doing. Are we pretending this conversation never happened? Are we telling her everything tonight? What's the plan? Can we pretend it never happened? Nathan asked. Can you look at Emma and not think about what I just told you? Probably not, I admitted. But I also can't look at Emma tonight and tell her that her husband questions whether he married her for herself or because she looks like someone else. That's not a conversation I'm prepared to have. We walked back toward the pier in silence. The evening that had started so normally had transformed into something complicated and uncomfortable. And I was left carrying knowledge I didn't want about a marriage that wasn't mine to evaluate or judge. Emma arrived 15 minutes later, apologetic and rushed, full of stories about her terrible meeting and her impossible boss. She didn't notice anything was off, didn't see the tension between Nathan and me. Didn't suspect that her husband had just confessed something that changed how I saw their entire relationship. We had dinner, normal conversation, normal laughter, normal everything on the surface. But underneath, I was processing Nathan's confession, watching him with Emma, trying to determine if I saw genuine love or complicated grief, trying to figure out what I was supposed to do with the information he'd given me. That was 2 months ago. 2 months of carrying Nathan's secret. 2 months of seeing Emma and Nathan together, and wondering if their marriage is built on solid ground, or on grief and resemblance that Nathan has never fully processed. 2 months of Nathan occasionally catching my eye with an expression that asks if I've decided what I think he should do. 2 months of me having no answer to give him. I haven't told Emma, haven't repeated Nathan's confession to anyone, haven't reported back to Nathan with advice on whether he should come clean or keep his secret. I've just carried the weight of knowing something about my best friend's marriage that she doesn't know. Something that might be significant or might be irrelevant. Something that could destroy her confidence or might not matter at all. I've thought about what I would want if I were Emma. Would I want to know that my husband's first attraction might have been based on resemblance to someone else? Would I want to know about Jennifer? About the lie regarding how that relationship ended? Would knowing help me or just create doubt where certainty had existed? I genuinely don't know. Part of me thinks Emma deserves complete honesty. Deserves to know the full context of her marriage so she can make informed decisions about her future. Part of me thinks telling her would be cruel. Would plant seeds of doubt that might destroy a marriage that's actually solid despite complicated origins. Part of me is angry at Nathan for putting me in this position, for confessing something I didn't want to know, for making me complicit in keeping a secret from my best friend, for unloading his burden onto me instead of dealing with it through proper channels. And part of me understands why he told me, why the weight of carrying that secret alone had become unbearable, why he needed external perspective from someone who knew both him and Emma, why he chose that moment on the beach when defenses were down and everything felt suspended between day and night. 2 months. 2 months of this knowledge sitting heavy in my chest. 2 months of questioning what friendship means when you're keeping secrets. 2 months of wondering if silence makes me loyal to Nathan or disloyal to Emma. 2 months of no good answers. I heard something crazy that night at the beach. Something Nathan should have taken to his grave or at minimum shared with his therapist rather than his wife's best friend. A secret about grief and resemblance, and questions about whether his love for Emma is as pure as she believes it is. And now that secret lives in me too. Changes how I see their marriage. Makes me question what I owe to honesty versus what I owe to protecting Emma from painful uncertainty. Nathan revealed something he never should have said, and I'm left holding the weight of that revelation. Trying to figure out what to do with knowledge I never asked for. Trying to determine if some secrets should stay buried forever, or if truth, however painful, is always better than comfortable lies. I still don't have answers. Still don't know if I'll eventually tell Emma or continue carrying Nathan's confession in silence. Still don't know if Nathan will ultimately decide to come clean himself or if he'll keep living with doubt about the origins of his feelings. Still don't know what the right thing to do is when there are no good options, only varying degrees of potential harm. What I do know is that Sunset Confession changed everything. Changed how I see Nathan. Changed how I see Emma's marriage. Changed my understanding of what we owe to truth versus what we owe to peace. Some secrets should have stayed buried. Should never have been spoken out loud. Should have been processed in therapy or carried in silence rather than shared with someone who had no power to fix anything and every reason to be hurt by knowing. Nathan's secret destroyed the comfortable certainty I had about their marriage, made me question foundations I'd thought were solid, made me complicit in something I never wanted to be part of, and 2 months later, I'm still trying to figure out what to do with that burden, still trying to determine what loyalty looks like in impossible situations, still carrying Nathan's secret like a weight I can't put down, but don't know how to carry. The end.